welcome, what's up, and welcome back to the channel for yet another FC Finch review. And yes, we are back from our break. We are energized and ready to go. And of course, we're going to kick off today with Eaglemoss Day. We left on a Transformers Day, excuse me, and so we're going to kick it right back up with Eaglemoss Day. And of course, we have on the table an oldie but a goodie, the official Starships Collection Hero Collector U.S.S. Stargazer. This, of course, being from Star Trek The Next Generation, Picard's first command, and I forget the name of the episode that we see it in, so don't chastise me for that, but nevertheless, we're going to get down and review this model, and I can already tell you that we do have a few qualms. But first, if you are new to the channel, you may want to consider subscribing. We do have a new ship on the way. I just got the shipping notification today, so we will be checking that out hopefully in the coming weeks. I cannot wait to share it all with you. But that being said, we are going to start off with this review. Now, of course, everybody always knows we don't take a look at the box, because the boxes for these things at the time are all the same. So we're going to jump right into the magazine, and let's do that. So I got the ship moved out of the way, and of course we have our magazine with the typical color, with the typical cover, excuse me. And of course this is issue 19, way back when, of like 180 or whatever it was. And of course we have a nice frontal rendering of the U.S.S. Stargazer, excuse me. It is a length of 310 meters. It is max speed of warp 9, a 15 decks, and it is a Constellation class. It is the U.S.S. Stargazer NCC 2893. Of course, the first variation of this ship. We do see a newer one in Star Trek Picard, but of course, there we go. And if we move into the magazine, of course, we have our table of contents, U.S.S. Stargazer, classic scene, designing the Stargazer, filming starships on screen, and of course, the stand instructions. And then, of course, we have information. There's a lot of it on the Stargazer. Of course, a nice frontal orthographic view of the Stargazer. NCC 2893, Constellation class, built in San Francisco Fleet Yards on Earth in the 24th century. Abandoned in 2355, a length of 310 meters, 15 decks, 535 crew. Wow, that's a lot of crew. And so it's very similar to the Constitution class. Warp 9 with phasers and photon torpedoes, and captained by Jean-Luc Picard from 22333 onwards. And of course, there we have some nice shots of the one of the twin warp cores. I believe it's a twin warp core design on this. So we'll go through that later. There's one of these on the other side, and then of course we have the impulse drives, and then of course from the top, looks like here. So there we go for that. And let's turn the page real quick. And of course, NCC 2893 Stargazer U.S.S. Stargazer was a Constellation class ship that for much of its service was captained by Jean-Luc Picard. And there we go, a nice rendering of the Stargazer. Moving on, we got more Stargazer shots there. Of course, we have the engines looking really, really good. And then, of course, we have the Stargazer in tow by the U.S.S. Enterprise. And then, of course, we have, I believe this was from the episode Peak Performance, was it not? I thought that was the episode, yeah, the Picard maneuver. And I believe that is where we see that maneuver there. And then, of course, we have, I love this, we have some nice orthographic views of the Stargazer. So the Stargazer, a bit more well-known than a lot of the ships we see in Eaglemoss. I mean, again, it's been around, it's got some mileage on it. And there we have, of course, the damaged Stargazer, and then, of course, a Stargazer model, the yellow one that we see sitting on the shelf in Jean-Luc Picard's office or conference room. And then, of course, if we move on, we got a nice model of the Enterprise D. I forget which one this is. They had like the massive one that could separate, and then the not so massive one, which was later retooled into the All Good Things version. And then, of course, we have a few more filling models. We got Excelsior class. We got, of course, the classic shot with Okuda and Mr. Roddenberry right there, looking really, really good. And then, of course, we have, of course, the Enterprise and the Decora class. And then, lastly, another final shot of course, the Enterprise and the Stargazer. And that will be it. And then, of course, we move on to a nice final top orthographic view of the Stargazer. And that will be all for the magazine. And as always, even though this is pretty straightforward by now, we're going to do our stand real quick. So, of course, you got the peg right here, and it goes right in, fits in nice and firmly. And then of course you're going to take your ship and you're going to bring it down, and it'll just sit with its clutches right around the saucer. It does grasp quite firmly. It does kind of come apart easy, but I've never had any issues with the ship falling out of its stand. So and that will be all. And you can see it's got this nice shooting up into outer space kind of stance to it. So it's really, really cool. And let's get a look at the star of the show, the U.S.S. Stargazer. Move the stand off the side. And straight away, I'm going to show my problem with this ship. And I'm not sure how well you can see it, but it is definitely lopsided. You can kind of see the nacelles are kind of lopsided. This actually, I'm not sure if it's the saucer that's lopsided or the nacelles. I think it's the saucer that's lopsided. But nevertheless, so kind of a downer about this. Now, that's kind of why I want to get the XL at some point when it's not a gajillion dollars on the internet. But nevertheless, we'll take a look at this ship as is. So, of course, got that really nice coloration to it. It's kind of like an off-white, light blue, which I do really love. I remember having a Micro Machine Stargazer, or at least was it the Micro Machine? Either way, this is kind of like the same color that the Micro Machine Excelsior class was, almost like a kind of baby blue, eggshell blue. Looks really good. So you can kind of see a light hue of blue, nice aqua style around the bridge and whatnot. U.S.S. Stargazer NCC 2083. You got lots of nice light gray Aztecing all around. Of course, you got the ridges all around in the saucer, looking really, really good. And of course, the RCS thrusters right along here. And I love how they have the kind of lights peaked out in gold. Got the orange signal lights right along here and a little bit of vent detailing. If we move on to the nacelles real quick, again, you got some molded detail right here. It looks really, really good. Again, just some different warp coils and whatnot. And then, of course, we move on to the nacelles. Of course, they are TMP style nacelles. Of course, they're opposed. And, so fun fact, they were like this because, Gene Roddenberry, his rules of Starship design was the warp coils always have to be facing each other. And not a lot of, some models didn't follow it, some models do, but this ship, of course, you can see that the nacelles are on the side so that the two warp coils can see each other. So how cool is that? And you got a nice little running light detail on here from the side. NCC 2893 United Federation of Planets. I love how it has some small text there with the Federation logo, and then of course the Bassard collectors. Again, transparent plastic for the warp coils and a nice light, kind of like an aqua-ish color. It looks really, really good. Kind of void of paint and coloration as we get towards the engine section, and you can see that this is if you look at the Miranda class, it had the same kind of style of engine. So you can see the little warp core, and then of course you got your impulse engines. No paint for the impulse engines, but there they are. And I believe that this ship was designed so that they could just extract the warp core from the side and put a new one in. So that's really cool there. It's not painted, but you do have some window detailing, some little window peaks, and then of course you got the shuttle for a shuttle bay right there on the tops and on the side. It looks really good. They got some molded detail right here on the inside of the nacelle panel, which is really, really cool. Again, you'll never notice that unless you're really looking for it. And again, same thing with the bottom, very symmetrical ship. And then you got, of course, on the bottom, you got this little kind of phaser array or whatever it was, kind of really cool. Just to get this nice attention to detail. You got all the sensor pods along the bottom of the ship, looking really, really good. Saucer bigger as usual. You can of course see the window details along the side. And of course, these little indents with the paint are signifying the shuttle bays. The ship was basically surrounded by shuttle bays all around the ship. So really, really cool. The saucer was twice the size of a typical saucer in terms of its thickness. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, it's unfortunate that it does have this misalignment, because otherwise than that, this is a really cool ship and a really nice representation of the U.S.S. Stargazer. Real quick, I should talk about the weight. So I think this is mostly all plastic. I do feel kind of a bit more weight in the saucer section, but for the most part, it feels like just a good hefty amount of plastic. So as far as weight goes, so there you go for that. And for a quick couple of comparisons, let's get it in there with another ship from the similar era, the Constitution class, and there's the standard size Enterprise refit model. You can kind of see how that all looks. Definitely a difference in saucer size. And then of course, if we move on, you can kind of see same transparent plastic used for the heat for the warp coil area, excuse me. And yeah, I just love how these ships work out. That's really, really cool. And it's almost like pretty much to scale, I think. In fact, yeah, no, this is actually, I think this scale works. I'm not sure about the height, but definitely the length. As the Enterprise was about just shy of 300 meters. This is just over 300 meters. So really, really good. And then, of course, let's get a look from the front. And yeah, that just looks really, really cool. Definitely like sisters in arms of sorts. And lastly but not leastly, let's get it in there. Of course, we have to bring in the ship from Picard's current command, the Galaxy class Enterprise DXL. And we can see, and that's the typical XL style. You know, the saucer is almost as big as the whole ship, but you can just kind of see how that works out. Just kind of Picard's, he's come a long way. He's come a long way indeed. So there we go. And actually, let me get. Let me change my hand position here because I do want to bring this up. I think this scale almost works as well too. In fact, if anything is only slightly off, you get lengthwise anyway. Again, this is about half the length of the Enterprise, a little bit less than that, but that's a rough scale measurement for you. So yeah, and there we go for our comparison. And let's summarize. So there we have it for the Eaglemoss Hero Collector U.S.S. Stargazer, issue number 19 from the collection. And again, an oldie but a goodie to be sure. Now, of course, I'm not sure about anybody else's copy of this model. Mine, of course, has the nacelle misalignment, which is kind of a downer for me. But it is the only downer that I have with the ship. Otherwise, I think it's a really, really beautiful model with a lot of nice subtle colors. Not entirely heavy, but on the same token, it's not entirely light either, especially given its size. You can tell there's a hefty amount of plastic used here, which goes along with the thickness of the saucer. If I had to complain about one other thing, it would be kind of a lack of detail around the engine area. Now, I'm not sure if the XL is this same way. Again, some XLs were just upscaled versions of the standard ship, but I'm hoping if the XL, yeah, I'm hoping the XLs kind of address some of these issues, let's say. But other than that, again, a really interesting model of a really cool ship. Now, of course, if this ship interests you, I would definitely go after it if you can find it for a decent price. But of course, if you could find the XL for a decent price, I would almost go after that one first, especially if you're a fan of the ship. And we do know this ship kind of has a cult following. I, of course, am definitely one of the fans of the quad nacelle designed ships. And that being said, that is going to conclude this review. Now, I got this ship from Eaglemoss when it was open, but however, you can look at places like Master Replicas and RealMerch.com. I'll put a link in the description to both of them down below. Master Replicas, of course, getting drops of ships every week. I did buy my last ship from them. We will get into more detail on that. And that being said, if you found this review fun and informative, consider hitting that like button down below. Also consider subscribing to the channel. We are growing, and that totally does help me out, and it'll definitely keep you apprised of new content coming out. And trust me, we have new content coming out. I try and do a ship every 1 to 3 days. So that being said, that is going to conclude this review. I have been FC Finch. Thank you so much for watching. Live long and prosper.